Hello everyone, you're here with Patrick back in the kitchen, cooking with family, for family. Today we're going to do something different than what I originally said we were going to do. Originally I said I was going to post a lemon chicken piccata as my first meal. However, today we're pulling in an audible and we're cooking something brand new that we've never cooked before. So it'll be a learning lesson for both you and I. We are going to be cooking rustic roasted garlic chicken and Asiago cheese. And then as a side, we are going to do some buttered sauteed green beans. Here in a second, I'll show you a picture of our ingredients and then you'll get to see me prepping. See you then. Alrighty, back here, going to show you some quick prep work. We got our green beans. It calls for 20 cloves of garlic, so I just got four, I don't know what you call it, bunches of garlic, I guess. And then you said bulbs.
It was bulbs.
Okay, 4 bulbs of garlic. Who knows if that's even real. And then we got our fresh thyme and a whole sweet onion. And I will get to prepping. Oop, there was a thumb in the camera. Another thing that you're going to want to prep is you're having whole chicken breasts. So you can either get a meat tenderizer and you can whack it out or smack it out or whatever to flatten it. But me personally, I just get a really sharp knife. I hold my full breast like this. Now you got to be very careful, but I put my blade dead center to the top of the breast and I work it down until I split. Now I've already cut this and that's why you're not seeing me actually do it, but essentially you're wanting very thin 1/4 inch cutlets. So when we're prepping this, I've already halved all 20 garlics. Now to save yourself some time, please get the garlic that's already peeled. Especially for this recipe calls for 20 garlic cloves. I just spent 4 hours and 72 minutes peeling them, and now my hands are a sticky mess. It takes forever. It doesn't take 4 hours, but it does take a lot of time. So just save yourself the hassle. Get the already peeled garlic and then half it or 1/4 it, whichever. Now our sweet onions, how you do this is you cut both the bottom and top of the onion. You peel away the onion, and then you got yourself 2 halves. What you want to do then is you want to cut slices into the onion without reaching this back end. You want to go about a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch there. And then you're going to want to do thin slices down to get yourself your chopped. Oh, it's kind of exploding out of there. And then I won't bore you with the rest, but then the most tedious part of this whole meal is going to be cooking your chicken, which is going to consist of melting down 2 tablespoons of butter and then roughly 2 tablespoons of oil. It doesn't have to be perfect. Nobody's perfect. You do want a nice layer there, and then you want to cook it up to medium-high heat. And then in a second, you're about to see what the chicken looks like when it's in action. All right, after you've halved your chicken, like I instructed before, you're gonna wanna do some basic seasonings like some salt and pepper. That's what the recipe called for. My wife and I don't always believe in following the recipes, so we added some extra stuff like garlic powder and seasoning salt.
And onion powder.
And some onion powder as well. Good call, because we do have garlic and chopped onion after all, so we're really just kind of enhancing those flavors. We're already prepping our green beans. The green beans are in a saute pan. Essentially that's just going to get maybe a whole stick of butter and some olive oil, and it doesn't have to be fancy oil. We get no name brand. Budget friendly is the way to go. Speaking of, this meal all in all I would say would be under the $30 mark and would definitely feed easily a family of 4. And so yeah, we're gonna get started with this chicken and we're gonna start sauteing up the green beans, and you'll see us here in a second. Hitting the grease right now. This is exactly how your chicken should be looking. Should be sweating clear. That's what I always learned, is if it's starting to sweat clear, it's been cooked all the way through. Please keep in mind though that you have different folks with different strokes. Different family members are going to want their meats done differently. If you don't have a household that's like that, God bless you. It's got to be much easier. So just keep in mind, if you have somebody who likes their meat a little bit more well done, you would probably want to keep it on a little bit longer. However, if it's wet and clear and it's looking how it's looking right now, I can confidently say that it's definitely safe to eat.
Or if you have a thermometer, 165.
Of course, as my wife just said, if you really, really want to be sure, and my advice to you and your family, no matter what you're cooking, no matter what I've said that I've said or I said that I do, you know, take the time to properly educate yourself as well. I can't stress enough, we're not professional cooks. We're just a family that has learned over the course of many meals how to do some stuff. So, but it is important to know for your family's sake and for your sake, you know, like when you're dealing with knives, obviously there's a risk of injury. If you're dealing with undercooked meat, there's a chance at sickness. Again, you want to make sure that you're following the recipe. You want to make sure that you're doing the things right. My wife pointed out, if you have one of those needle thermometer thingies that pop in there, 165 means that the chicken's safe to eat. So we also got the green beans starting. It's not much action here because I just cranked the heat, but you'll see here in a second that we'll be starting to make some progress in this meal. All right, guys, and another trick with these green beans is you want to constantly be moving them, because if you don't move them, they'll char to the bottom of the pan. So keep adding butter as desired. Really no need for any more oil, and then just keep moving them around so they don't get black and charred. I mean, it's okay if there's a little char. Actually, some people kind of like them that way. But I think the goal is to have a perfect balance of firm and soft. And honestly, that's kind of up to you to decide where that lands. There's really no time or set time to do these green beans. It's kind of just what you feel will be right. You can always do a taste test. Obviously, that'll tell you, just don't burn yourself. But see in a second, we'll start getting the sauce ready after this chicken's complete. So just like the green beans, how I just told you guys, you're gonna want to keep it moving. I don't have a lot of butter or oil in here, I can tell, because the onions aren't flipping as strongly as they normally. So now we just kind of mix in the garlic with the sweet onion here. We're keeping it moving. Now it's very important that before you enter the onions and the garlic and the chicken broth, shortly after you remove the chicken, you don't want to wipe the plate clean. You want to keep the sauteed pan just the way it was when the chicken left, and then you enter in the garlic and the onions. All right, after the garlic and the onions have been slightly browned, you want to add the fresh thyme and then 2 tablespoons of flour. The flour is meant to add a thickness to the sauce. So you want to make sure you get it nice and mixed in. And then after it's nice and mixed in, we're going to reintroduce the chicken to soak up in all of this goodness. See you in a second. All right, guys, kind of a little hard to see, but I reintroduced that chicken, submerged it into the sauce that we had, and I'm just kind of letting it settle on some low heat. And we also got the green beans. They're pretty much done. The final step for those will be some freshly grated Parmesan to sprinkle over top and melt down onto the green beans. So essentially, we're at the final stages here, people. We are going to more or less let this ride out. You can't even see those chicken breasts. That's how much sauce and Asiago rustic gravy that it is not only soaking in, but topped with. I'm going to show you a final plate of what the chicken looks like when it's plated, and it looks a little bit more distinguishable. Don't mind the baby screaming, crying. I'm not sure what she's doing. But that's why we call this channel Cooking with Family for Family. So there's no chance, unless I somehow drop these kids off at a Starbucks and get top dollar, that I'm going to escape the noise. So it is what it is. I embrace it. There's nothing I can do to change it. And I love my kids, so they can scream and holler all they want. I'm going to let this settle, and I will show you the plated version here in just a second. So one thing I forgot to mention, just, I don't know if it was nerves or whatever, but after your garlic and onions have lightly browned, you're going to want to add that cup of chicken broth to deglaze the pan. I'm not sure if I said that, but just in case, I want to make sure that I'm giving the right directions. So you want to make sure that you have that chicken broth in there after the onions and garlics have, you know, gotten to a light brown. The other thing that I didn't mention is while your chicken's cooking, you want to make sure that you're grating your cheese, and then you're prepping your cheese. Obviously, there's not much cheese here because it's all on the top of this, as well as your green beans. So up next you'll see a plated version, and then we'll do an outro and close the video. Really appreciate you guys who have stuck around this far into the video. See you soon. Alright everyone, it just came out of that pan and is now plated.